Iran's foreign minister is warning of an all-out war should the U.S. or Saudi Arabia launch military strikes in retaliation for those recent attacks on the Saudi oil facilities, which Iran still vehemently denies involvement. RT correspondent Sayeh Tavangar is following the escalating tensions in the region. She joined me a little earlier to give more details. Here's what she said. So Sayeh, what did Javad Zarif say?
Well, Javad Zarif, Iran's foreign minister, said how Iran would react, only how they would react if the U.S. or the Saudis put a military strike against Iran. And this is what he had to say.
An all-out war.
You make a very serious statement there, sir.
Well, I make a very serious statement about defending our country. I'm making a very serious statement that we don't want war. We don't want to engage in a military confrontation. We believe that a military confrontation based on deception is awful. We'll have a lot of casualties, but we won't blink to defend our territory.
Now, it's also really important to note, Manila, Iran has not threatened an all-out war. All they're saying is that if there's any kind of military strike on the Islamic Republic, this is what they're going to do to control their country. But what Zarif also said is that they were willing to talk to regional rivals like Saudi Arabia and the UAE to ease tensions. But at this point, it doesn't seem very likely. Now, France, as you recall, even during the G7, tried to initiate dialogue between Washington and Iran. And again, what they're trying to do is push for diplomacy instead of a military conflict. Now, this is what French Prime Minister had to say about the situation right now with Iran and Washington.
When I say that Iran must come back to the Vienna Agreement, it is a demand, because otherwise we are in a slide with all the risks that it can imply. Imagine what would happen if Iran had the nuclear weapon today, with the current situation in the Gulf region. So Iran must come back in the agreement, get the financial benefit of the agreement, and we must be able to talk about the rest.
But what's interesting is that Iran hasn't breached the agreement. Iran is still in the agreement. It's the U.S. that's pulled out of the agreement. So it's kind of confusing what everyone's saying. But France also did mention that they don't think it was the Houthi rebels that actually the strikes on Saudi's oil facilities, but they are conducting their own private international investigation. So that's still pending.
So Mike Pompeo is currently in the Middle East right now discussing, options to deter Tehran's what they're calling aggressions. What's the takeaway on Pompeo's visit so far?
Well, Pompeo was in Saudi Arabia yesterday, met with the king, and today he was in the UAE, and as of now, he's actually on his way back to Washington, and the whole trip was to discuss the ongoing tensions of everything, obviously, that's happening in the Middle East. But Pompeo was asked what the U.S., if the U.S. still wanted a peaceful resolution to the situation with Iran, and listen to what he had to say.
Certainly that's what President Trump, it's what America always wants. We'd like a peaceful resolution indeed. I think we've demonstrated that. They've taken down an American UAVs, conducted the largest attack on the globe's energy in an awfully long time. And we are still striving to build out a coalition. I was here in an active diplomacy while the foreign minister of Iran is threatening all-out war and to fight to the last American.
Well, Zarif has not called for an all-time war. His language is being taken completely out of context. The question to Zarif was, how would Iran react if there was a military strike? That would be the
response.
Exactly. So what Pompeo is saying is completely out of context. Also, Pompeo is saying that he's been calling for peaceful resolution. Language coming out of the U.S. right now has been anything but peaceful. If you go back to all his tweets, President Trump's tweets, it's not really showing any kind of peaceful resolution.
Fire and fury.
Exactly. So what he's saying right now to how the U.S. has been behaving, it's completely in contradiction. But Pompeo's trip has proved to be somewhat successful so far. When Bahraini King was in Washington, D.C. earlier this week, they've signed on the U.S.-led coalition to protect the Middle East waterways. And the Saudis yesterday announced that they're also going to join the coalition. And also today, UAE decides that they're going to join. So far, it's these three countries and also Australia and United Kingdom that's kind of joining this coalition to what they're calling is protecting the waterways in the Persian Gulf. But here's something really interesting. Pompeo told reporters, I'm going to read this unquote, the Saudis were the nation that was attacked. It was on their soil. It was an act of war against them directly, and we will protect them in any way possible. Yeah. Now, the Saudis purchased the majority of their weapons from the U.S. and the U.K. So many are wondering if they're purchasing all these weapons from the U.K. and the U.S., why do we also have to go and protect them if they already have this
they're armed,
very sophisticated military? And just to tell you, in 2018, UAE, with a population of just 1 million, spent about $22 billion. Now, Saudi Arabia spent $67 billion. So you could tell they have very sophisticated
They have the equipment.
Exactly.
And they can defend themselves.
But as of right now, it's kind of showing that what they're asking for is the U.S.
For the U.S. to step in.
Exactly.
As always. Sayeh, Tavangar, thank you for filing that report.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.